Hello everyone, my name is Yuvarajan and welcome to the premiere of a brand new season of Knowledge Worth Sharing. My podcast has officially turned 2 this year. Since season 1 has ended, I've taken a gap from podcasting to revel in the journey of pursuing my passion, which is to serve as many people as possible worldwide. I enrolled into J. Shetty Certification School back in May 2021. After waiting patiently for almost a year and a half, I have successfully graduated from JSCS on October 2021, and I can now proudly say that I'm a J. Shetty certified coach. Along the journey, I've discovered my coaching niche, anti-discrimination. Therefore, for this brand new season, I'll be focusing on the powerful human stories that went against the odds. This podcast will dissect these strong-willed individuals who have been victims of discrimination and how they came out of it and served the world in their unique way, thus making it a better place. It will be a mix of interviews and solo episodes that will retain the educational element, as I believe discrimination stems from ignorance. Education has the power to eradicate ignorance and is thus potent enough to combat discrimination. This podcast will be a weekly podcast with interview episodes alternating with solo episodes. Please give your feedback via my contact details, which are available in my description. I genuinely value your feedback to improve my content further. May you enjoy your stay here and find my content worth listening to and sharing. Service, education, drive, self-fulfillment. With humility, Yuvarajan at Thrive Coach YD. Welcome to my third episode of Knowledge Worth Sharing Season 2. I appreciate your willingness to check out my content, and I hope you'll find it meaningful and worth sharing. This episode will be another solo episode where I will be talking about pertaining topics related to anti-discrimination. In the previous episode, we looked into several discriminations definitions and derived a summative meaning from all those definitions. I had also shared my own experience dealing with discrimination. So, you might wonder, how did I come out of feeling stuck due to being oppressed? In this episode, I will share some of my coping methods with discrimination. I'm not implying these are the best methods, but these methods work wonders for me. You may adapt some of the techniques that I will share to match your situations. This episode may be an eye-opener to some of you, so make yourself comfortable, sit tight, and enjoy this episode. Now, let's get started with this episode. I often had a belief that every problem was a solution in disguise. No problem existed without a solution. Albert Einstein once mentioned, one cannot solve a problem using the same mindset which created the problem in the first place. What Einstein meant was that a person cannot solve a problem by using the same state of mind that created the situation in the first place. Instead, an out-of-the-box approach is needed to find a solution to the problem. The old mindset cannot solve the problem. Instead, it makes it even more significant. Thus, a shift in perspective is needed to see the issue at a 360-degree angle. Clarity and better understanding will develop through this holistic approach and thus lead to a solution. Going back to today's topic, I will credit my ability to rise above discrimination to the principle of success shared by Swami Ramatirtha. He shared the 3 C's of success, namely concentration, consistency, and cooperation or community. I will explain all 3 of them shortly. The first, concentration, is the alignment of energy towards a single goal or target. It is funny that many out there are in an oblivious state where they think they know about concentration but do not. If anyone asks them about concentration, the most popular response is alternating between the word focus and concentration. Some even replied with constricted eyes and heads looking forward stiffly. So how does the act of concentrating help to deal with discrimination? I learned to align my energy towards a single focal point, things within my control. I chose to disregard the things beyond my control, as is evident as it seems. I have zero control over them. I cannot control what the media portrays, how people think about and treat me, and the stereotypes that go around the community. Instead, I can control my response to all of that and my feelings. I can choose to be passive or submissive to the situation, being the victim, or I could be ultra aggressive, lashing out at every unjust treatment I face. Being passive or aggressive is like being on the 2 opposite responses. These 2 states of emotions are highly volatile, influenced by the mind, not governed by the intellect. Instead of being passive or aggressive, I chose to be assertive. The podcast will commence after a short break. Stay tuned. Everyone, my name is Yuvarajan, or you can call me Drive Coach YD. I have 3 burning questions for you. Number 1, have you ever been judged for your belief or race or gender and being denied the opportunity to truly expressing yourself to the world? Number 2, due to this, do you feel like stuck or giving up of your desire and dream as it got struck down even before it got started? Number 3, do you find yourself complaining or venting a lot and yet you cannot find a solution to your issue? If your answer is a resounding yes to at least one of the questions mentioned earlier, you are a victim of discrimination. I have been you many years ago and still am now. Therefore, I can truly resonate with how you feel. I empathize with you. I have been called Keling, which is an offensive word for Indians where I'm staying, for umpteen times that I've lost count. I've crossed certain people who have ridiculed me for who I am without even bothered to hear me out. Does this experience sound familiar to you? If yes, I just want to say, I am here to hear you out. I'm keen to listen to your unique voice, which has been engulfed by the other noises for all this while. I truly believe there is a true greatness hidden within you. Remember, there is only one you. You are unique, and your uniqueness deserves a spotlight. Yes, I get it. What has happened to you was rough, but how you react to it truly depending on you. You can perceive it as an obstructing boulder in your life and dive into endless complaints and venting like what a victim does. Or you can perceive it as a leaping stone to achieve greatness and think like a victor. Which one will you choose? A victim or a victor? If you say victor, then we have a deal. I am a J. Shetty certified mindset and drive coach. I work with young adults between the age of 20 to 30 years old who has been a victim of discrimination or favoritism. Through my coaching service, I am offering a one-to-one consultation call via Zoom to help young adults who are victimized by discrimination to find clarity in life and be the best version of themselves by looking at a vantage point beyond the discrimination they are currently facing within 8 to 10 weeks. I am not implying that your problem will be resolved in 10 weeks, but at least by then, your mindset will undergo a dramatic shift beyond the victim mindset and towards the victor or thriving mindset. Now, why should you pick me over any other coaches? Because I am the living proof of a person who can truly live their passion despite being a victim of discrimination. As a wise person says, experience is the best teacher. If you're convinced that we could work with each other, then please click the link below this video and I will schedule a free discovery session call for you. I will end this video with a parting quote by Oprah Winfrey. I see you. I hear you. And what you say matters. Thank you. Vanakkam. Now, there is a difference between passive, assertive, and aggressive. Being passive is submitting oneself to the situation, in this case, the mercy of the oppressor. Being aggressive is simply lashing out of anger without having a moment to think it over, a wave of thoughtless anger. Assertiveness is in the midpoint between the two extremes. Assertiveness means being aware of the situation and making calculated moves to come out of it. In the Sanatana Dharma teaching, Hindus are encouraged to observe ahimsa. Ahimsa means non-violence. Ahimsa paramo dharma, or the greatest dharma. Misinterpretation of our scriptures have led to a defeatist and cowardly mentality which has for long enslaved the minds and hearts of confused generation of Hindus. In the scriptures, there are 24 different kinds of himsas, violence. There is the violence of speech, violence of intention, violence at the emotional and intellectual levels, violence against women and children, violence against the weak and the aged, violence against those incapable of defending themselves, and violence of snatching money or property, etc. Such violence is aggression, a forbidden act. As mentioned earlier, non-violence is the greatest dharma, but it does not mean one should meekly tolerate violence. Ahimsa does not mean non-defense against aggression. The Gita teachings are a religious call on every Hindu to discard the defeatist cowardice mindset, misinterpreted as ahimsa, and fight bravely against aggression and evildoers. Krishna jolts and awakens Arjuna to the call of duty at the battlefield by provoking him with the humiliating term impotent. As Arjuna, being a Kshatriya or warrior clan, was refusing to pick up arms, covering his shame with the mantle of ahimsa, Krishna goads him to fight the righteous war and defend his right to kingdom dignity, and even life. So, in short, the fundamental step to come out of discrimination is to be aware one is being treated unjustly, but mere awareness at one point in time is not enough, which brings us to the next phase, consistency. Consistency is the discipline to maintain a specific routine or action daily to one's best ability. As I mentioned earlier, merely being aware of being discriminated against is not sufficient if the action and awareness are not sustainable. Once there is a mindset shift, a person should sustain it to fortify the change process. In my case, journaling and affirmations help to maintain my awareness. Focusing on self-love also helped, as I felt more connected and fond of myself by focusing on loving myself. However, battling discrimination is not one man's mission. As the saying goes, if you want to go first, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. The third C is community or cooperation. Cooperation is when a group of individuals co-working or working together towards a common goal. Legendary motivator Jim Rohn mentioned, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. The people you spend the most time with shape who you are. They determine what conversations dominate your attention." This statement is very true in my case. Realizing that I could not handle discrimination alone, I started to find like-minded people battling various types of discrimination. I found my comrades fighting against discrimination in Jay Shetty's Genius community group, where I got exposed to a global family, Vasudevaya Kutubakum. Listening to how other people came out of their ordeal most of the time gives a whole new perspective on observing the world. It is human's nature to think that our problem is overwhelming until we hear a more significant problem from another person. Plus, being in a mindful community inculcates a sense of belonging where one cannot just get help but also act as a helper for the needy people in the same community. Engaging in the 3 C's helps me to view discrimination differently. The emotions of feeling unstuck are priceless. The feeling of doing what we want to do is empowering. This approach is a way to help victims of mistreatment on an individual basis. Working from person to person creates good rapport and a more personalized effect towards the victim of discrimination. As mentioned earlier, these are not the only method. You can adapt and modify the techniques I have shared to adapt to your situation. Let me know in the comments if any of these methods happens to be useful and meaningful to you. Thank you for listening to the end of this episode. My podcast, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube pages are now online. Do check them out and do not forget to tag me on Instagram at knowledgewordSharing_YD and knowledgewordSharing by Yuvarajan on Facebook. I'm also delighted to say that my podcast is now available in Apple Podcasts, Audible, and Amazon Music. For those who are interested to have a free discovery coaching call, I've also included the link to schedule a call with me in the description. If you find this episode useful and worth sharing, please do share in all your social media handles so that many more can listen to it and hopefully will find it worth sharing too. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode. Sayonara.